Now, this here is a Creality Ender 3 version 2 3D printer. I've had it for about 2 years, I believe now, maybe a year and a half. And I've printed a few cool things on here, but it definitely needs maintenance. And once in a while, something will act up and you won't be sure how to address it. Right now, my biggest issue is I probably have to strip it down and change out some parts. For example, I can replace the roller bearings. I have 2 beds. I'm currently using the mirror finish glass bed. We have 25 alignment points that it is utilizing. I have a little sensor over here. Okay. As expected, the right side is chronically too high. Or, yeah, there seems to be, I think what's happening is these clippy things that hold it down are interfering in some way. Some people would tell you that you should take apart the entire thing. I'm really not interested in taking apart the entire thing. Not at this stage. I could maybe put a clip over here to help arrest one side. You know what? I might try that. So we're going to take this clip. We're going to bend it a little bit. And we're going to pray. Now, this does introduce another problem, however. The other problem being that if I have anything big enough to make the nozzle go over here, it's going to rub up against this clip. But either way, we're going to proceed. Because if I can't lower this side or can't get this side to be even, I guess I could depend on the mesh leveling to conform to automatically, deal with that. But what I find I'm having to do when things are not perfect is I do automatic leveling, and then during the first print after leveling, I perform fine adjustments on the bed to get it to print correctly. And if they're just minor adjustments, I don't mind doing it, but I've had times where I got this thing to work perfectly, where I would simply run automatic leveling. I would warm it up, run the automatic leveling, and print. And I could leave the house, I could come back later, and it would still be printing correctly. What we are encountering here, however, is a little trickier because it needs a little bit more attention than I'd like to give it. Now, sometimes when I do proper maintenance on here, I'll revisit the machine and it'll be in a better place. It'll behave better. Okay. Interesting, very interesting. It kind of worked. The front left is a little bit high, but I don't care. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. So we're going to save the mesh. We're going to leave this little clippy thing over here. Pray that it doesn't bump into anything. Wow. That's going to be close. We're going to have to keep an eye on that clip. Alright, we saved our mesh. We're going to go ahead and begin printing an item. Now, we can totally run a pattern print. Hey, hey, what's up, the Nerdporeal life form? Good to see you. I think there's like a few second delay here. The plan is, right now, we're probably going to print the Russian space shuttle. known as the Baron. And when I get back up to my desk in a moment, I'll be able to show you what it looks like when printed. In fact, I could probably just open it up on my computer. But the thing is, you gotta fight with a 3D printer to get it to print. So, okay, we're gonna begin printing the Baron, the Russian space shuttle. It's gonna have a circular base, so it's gonna be a relatively easy print because it's gonna occupy the center of the bed. However, what tends to happen is as we move towards the edges or the corners, the nozzle will run into issues where the nozzle will be too close or too far. So now, at the beginning of a print, I use this knob to adjust the offset on the Z-axis. I'm going to move the nozzle up in minute increments. Yep. The nozzle looks a little on the low side. We're using a wood filament. It is basically a PLA filament, which is an abbreviation for polylactic acid, but it's basically, plastic. We've got a spool of filament right here. See, little thingamajig. And that is basically what we're using, except we're using a tan-colored filament, and right off the bat you can tell when there's an issue. The left side is sort of transparent, so we're going to raise the height of the filament by maybe a decimal point, a fraction of a millimeter. And so now we're starting to get a little color here, although I'm sure you can't see any color. You can see a little bit of a circle there. Let's see how many stops. 4, 5, 6. Alright, I lowered the brightness. I don't know if that helps. But yeah, the left side is still a little transparent. So I'm going to lower the front left corner a little bit, I guess. And we're going to elevate the nozzle again by another decimal point. And maybe if we lower this corner or elevate one corner. See, that's the tricky thing. And in an ideal world, this would just automatically be leveled. And once I tune it up, it should be. But right now, I haven't been able to get 100% cooperation. It's like a matter of luck. I tried rushing to print a... Whoops. That's my phone. I tried rushing to print a TIE Interceptor or something on Star Wars Day, and, well, But let's see here. I'm going to pull up a picture in a moment. Yeah, there we go. But nothing really interesting to write home about. We're just fighting with a 3D printer. Not very exciting right now. Aha! The back left corner is a little bit too low, I believe. So I've adjusted the knob. But yeah, this is not a particularly exciting one. I really just want to play video games, but I have to get this done. So we're just kind of getting a feel for it. Yeah, we're gonna just wing it. We're just gonna wing it. So we're gonna get the perimeter printed, and then we're gonna let it do some cross hatching, and that is going to hopefully allow us to see what other minute adjustments we can make. Okay, good. This will be the moment of truth. This is how we'll know if we're off to the races or not. Yeah, like once in a while I'll take it apart. Sometimes I'll switch it back to the stock glass. This is the original plate, build plate that we would have up here. You know, you clean it off with some isopropyl alcohol. And this one is a little bit thicker than the mirror I'm currently using. The mirror is cool because you get a really shiny finish on the bottom here. And, you know, I'm trying to tell if it's too close. Yeah, so I think we're just going to leave this alone. I really would like to have a little more consistency here. Um, you know, I hate having to manually adjust the leveling adjustment. But yeah, before I end this stream, I will show what I printed that is based on the same model. But this being a wood filament, I would expect it to have a more brown wood-like color as opposed to this transparent color. Hmm. And you know, I'm not printing the Russian space shuttle out of any love for Russia. It's a cool design. The Russian space shuttle has these like hydrogen rocket boosters as opposed to solid rocket boosters like the American space shuttle. Some would rightfully argue that it's a better space shuttle, but that it's only better because they had the benefit of spying upon our, you know, work by, you know, hiring spies to spy on the American space shuttle program. Russia was able to, you know, build something cool. They were able to learn from our mistakes or from, you know, issues that we encountered while building our space shuttle. But really what makes the Russian space shuttle special is its launch vehicle. It has a cool name. It's called Energia, which is spelled like energy, IA. And Energia is like basically it's got like four big ass hydrogen boosters on it with large fuel storage and a large central fuel tank on it. If I remember correctly, I believe the central fuel tank also has like more engines underneath it. And if you ever look at the Russian space shuttle from the bottom when it's in flight, that thing looks cool. I mean, it's got like a powerful launch vehicle. In fact, you could separate the launch vehicle from the Russian space shuttle and use it to bring cargo up into space, and the payload capacity would be tremendous. Probably would compete with the Falcon Heavy to some extent. Well, I'm starting to get that brown color, so I'm thinking maybe we're in okay shape, but this particular wood powder filament is a little different than what I've used before, because it doesn't actually look like it's got wood powder in it unless you look at it real close. So I think we're going to leave this running. I'm going to reposition the camera. So what I usually do is, don't worry, we're going to fix that. What we need to do is there we go. Now it's starting to look like something sane. There we go. A little crooked, but if I straighten it out, it might fall apart. Okay, so we'll reposition the camera later on, but the bottom line is that either something will go terribly wrong, like it looks like it's about to go wrong right now. I do not like the look of that line. Oh man, I might have to open up the tent. I have it inside a tent. This mylar wall here, that is all part of the tent. Oh, come on. Ah, either it's too high or too low, so we're adjusting it. Okay, I think we'll be fine. Alright, let's get back to my desk. I gotta set up a camera for my turtles soon. You know, I got 2 turtles in a tank in this very room. Hey, Pacific 1414, I'm about to jump over to my desk right now. We'll do something more fun. Hey, turtles. Okay, turtle. You behave there, superstar. I wish I could put these turtles on camera. Hey Google. No. There we go. Alrighty, I think I forgot to mute the audio. Alrighty. Am I back at my desk? I mean, I am back at my desk. Alrighty. Where's my autofocus? So, this is what I was 3D printing downstairs. This is the Baron. I'm going to mute the audio. Whew, I just ran up the stairs real quick. This is the Baron, also known as the Russian Space Shuttle. And let me just, I'm sorry, I got to open up my chat window. There we go. And so what I was talking about with the Russian Space Shuttle is you got these 4 solid, in fact they're not solid rocket boosters. They're like hydrogen storage tanks. You got the big tank up here, so similar to the American Space Shuttle, you got a big fat fuel tank. But on the American shuttle you have 2, actually 1 solid rocket booster on each side. So it'd be 1 and 1. And our rocket, we have solid boosters, meaning that it's similar to like a firecracker. You know, you got the powder inside, except it's more like a gel, and so it's a solid rocket fuel. And once you light it, you can't put it out, you can't turn it off. That's sort of one of the dangerous things about the American Space Shuttle, is that when they had a problem with the Challenger, there was a leaky O-ring on one side of the solid rocket booster, and basically instead of the rocket flame, or whatever you call it, the exhaust coming out the bottom, you now have some of the exhaust product coming out through the side of the O-ring and melting its way through the aluminum skin of the solid external fuel tank, which ignited a crap ton of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Now the Ruskies, what they did was, they still have a big fat fuel tank full of hydrogen, but now they have these boosters on the side that run off of that hydrogen fuel supply. And I believe these also have their own storage, because I couldn't imagine them simply having a bunch of empty cylinders on the side. And so they probably have like a cross feed or a way of pumping fuel, and that's part of the reason why you have these, these points connecting at an angle, because they're connected to draw fuel. If you were to take the Russian Space Shuttle off of this launch vehicle, you have one hell of a heavy lift rocket. On the other hand, with any space shuttle, like the American Space Shuttle, you have a cargo bay or a payload bay right here, and even that on its own is big. In a lot of situations it wasn't necessary. It's sort of like having a space truck when you only need a sedan, but when you need it, it's good to have. Like, it helped us build the big space station, because they could bring up components for the space station in the cargo bay and use the shuttle's onboard robotic arm to assist in the assembly of said space station. Other than that, during the American Space Shuttle program, we had a module called Space Lab that would sit inside the payload bay. And, you know, you have these big doors going, but you keep the doors closed, you can open them, but it was just an extra compartment for doing experiments. You could bring up mice or whatever, almost like a little space station inside of the payload bay. Of course, with the American Space Shuttle, you would have to open up the doors in order to cool off the radiator, because there was actually a radiator that would line the doors of the cargo bay. But anyway, so this is the one I printed like last week. I printed out a slightly smaller one for my brother's birthday. And what we're currently trying to print is a larger one, so about that big. And if this 3D print is successful, this will be one of the largest prints that I've ever done, but not necessarily the most challenging. Based on the status of the 3D printer, however, I have a pretty strong expectation that we're gonna have to probably start over again, because I'm seeing these little like messed up areas here, and I'm just not super confident that this is gonna work out. Now, realistically, there's a dozen ways of doing what I'm doing that are better than the way I'm doing it. I'm using a micro SD card in my printer, and I'm using the built-in keypad or control panel to, you know, select it from the menu. I open up a menu, I say print out this item that I have on the SD card, and I print it. But the better way to do it would be to have a little computer hooked up to the printer itself, and then you can pretty much remotely access that little computer and control the printer. And so if, let's say, the print was screwed up, I could, you know, tell it to stop printing, or I could start warming up the printer remotely, and then I can go to the machine when I'm ready. But this here, it either looks like the nozzle is, I don't know if it's too far or too close. I'm gonna reckon the nozzle is too far from the bed and we're not getting adhesion. So actually, if we just leave it, chances are this will kind of work itself out. But it'll work itself out basically because the bottommost layers of the printer will probably be a little crooked. But for something like this, it's like, okay, who cares? As long as the top of it and everything else is good, it'll sort itself out. But chances are I will cancel this print before it gets very far, because I'd like to perfect it even more. You know, like the other day, it was like super well behaved. I was like, I warmed it up, I did the quick alignment, and I was good to go. And then subsequent prints were hit or miss. With this, I've been trying to get the leveling to be perfect, and that's because of this mirror bed, which is covered in adhesive right now to help the print stick to the surface better. This bed has to be level with relation to the nozzle, and there's a couple of ways to, like, you know, make that happen. But it could be frustrating, you know, and sometimes you'll discover that something is loose or something is too tight, and, you know, unless you know, address other components or issues related to other components, you know, it's going to give you a hard time if that's totally, you know, not abnormal. But people do operate these things. People run businesses with 3D printers of this very model. So, you know, it is possible to get it to operate reliably. I mean, I'm sure nobody would, you know, do commissioned work with one of these if they didn't think they can keep it operating reliably. And I had times where it ran very reliably, and then I had other times where a random issue would occur. I've had times where the machine was mechanically perfect, but I updated the software I was using to, you know, convert models to, you know, print. Yeah, that's looking like crap. And so, you know, different stuff will, which variables will cause issues. So, you know, I gradually tried eliminating some variables. I added parts. You know, one cool thing about this particular model is that it's designed to be upgraded. And the only thing missing, well, not only thing missing, but the thing about owning any 3D printer, the reason I'm doing this video today is basically to educate anybody who thinks about buying a 3D printer, so that they really can think twice about it and maybe do their homework, or just kind of like give serious consideration to what kind of upgrades that they will put in. And I would say you don't necessarily want to buy a 3D printer and upgrade it right out of the starting gate, but there may be a couple of upgrades you'd want to do in the beginning. For example, you know, it's got a heated bed, so I'd say, you know, that's like an upgrade technically, but you could buy a model that comes with the heated bed. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even consider that an upgrade, but I would consider it a necessity. The automatic leveling sensor, I would say you could buy one with a new 3D printer, but I would not install the automatic leveling sensor until I understood how to level the printer manually. So anybody buying a 3D printer of this type, I would suggest figure out how to manually level the bed. Get it to print a few things, you know, a few test objects. Start small. Smaller objects tend to be more forgiving. If you print something in the center of the printer bed, it tends to be more forgiving. And as, you know, you understand the fundamentals, you can, you know, keep piling up, adding to that, and build out your technique. Now, other than that, we're using a PLA filament. This is also a PLA filament. It's basically like a melted plastic made from cornstarch. Polylactic acid is the actual name of PLA. This is similar to what we're using right now. This is a PLA wood filament of a Star Fury starfighter. Whoops, it's upside down. And this one actually looks kind of like a block of wood. It's really cool. Ouch, sorry. Now this one here came out ugly, but this is basically my first time ever printing using a material called PETG. Now it looks pretty similar color-wise, but PETG is actually similar to the material you make soda bottles out of. And this one looks like a pretty intense model, so you might be able to forgive some imperfections, but to be fair, it's, you know, I've cheated a lot. Not really cheated. By design, you print it in parts. The back part was one piece. The front part was one piece. There used to be a bunch of delicate antennas sticking out of here. Like, I've had pieces just falling off of this model. At some point, this is going to become like a battle-damaged ship, and I'm just going to leave it somewhere like in my tortoise enclosure to look like some cool wreckage. This part, that's one part printed flat on the bed, just like where my fingers are. That's where the build surface was. The middle was its own part. It's basically shaped like a rectangle. I printed it up vertically on its own. So I glued these two parts to the center part. The center part has a hole down in the middle, so I stuck some Chinese or Japanese chopsticks straight through the hole in the middle and fused these parts together. So actually, these parts here, the front and back, they're friction mounted. I could rotate these parts independently if I gave it enough force. But the bottom line is that these are stationary and this moves freely. So, you know, just like on Babylon 5, you have your, you know, your Omega class destroyer, and it's generating artificial gravity. And if you spin it like this, everyone dies, because of course the gravity would be way too intense. But yeah, I always loved this ship. Even before I got into Babylon 5, I saw this thing called an Omega class destroyer, and I see this cool spinning part, and I'm like, this is so bulky and ugly. I'm like, I love it. Oh. And the drawback of having an Omega class destroyer is that you can only accelerate so quickly, because if you accelerate too rapidly, you're now going to have essentially the equivalent of gravity towards the back. Sort of like the Expanse. I really should bring up my Rocinante model, but with the Rocinante, I can't believe I'm still painting it, but it's, you know, downstairs, it's not wet. I just haven't continued painting it yet. With the Rocinante, as it's under propulsion, essentially the back of it would be the bottom, like if you're standing in a skyscraper, and so each deck would be stacked vertically, with the engine being the lower deck. With this ship, we're using, of course, artificial gravity via spin, via centrifugal force, centrifugal gravity. And so, of course, that means that while it's under spin, this would be the bottom, and then each deck would be bottom, up, 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 up. And same thing here, bottom, top, and center. So while it's spinning, the bottom would be, you know, facing outward from the center of spin. So if you're under acceleration now, while this is spinning, you should still have your centrifugal gravity, but under too much acceleration, suddenly the back wall would become the floor. And there are solutions to this in other sci-fi. So in Babylon 5, they simply chalked it up as a limitation of this particular design. And so your other ships, they would have the Hyperion class heavy cruiser or the Nova class dreadnought. I got a 3D print one of those. So the Nova class dreadnought is literally one of these without the gravity block and with really large guns on it. The Nova class dreadnought is useful, I guess, because you can move it pretty quickly, you can accelerate pretty hard with no regard for the, you know, spin gravity apparatus. But the disadvantage of the Nova class dreadnought is that your crew can't really stay on for too long, you know, without incurring muscle loss and atrophy and osteoporosis type of symptoms or, you know, effects. And so there's an episode in season 2 of Babylon 5, I think season 2 episode 13 or 15, called Gropos. Gropos being the shorthand phrase for ground pounders. And in that episode, I'm out of focus here. Anyway, General, what the heck is his name? Stephen Franklin. General Franklin, who's wearing my same glasses. I'm only wearing these glasses because of General Franklin on Babylon 5. Shows up at the station with a bunch of, with his own Nova class dreadnought and probably a bunch of other ones, and a number of troop transports. And basically he tells Captain Sheridan, yeah, you know, we're gonna pretend we're conducting an exercise, but we actually are gonna be conducting a mission, but on the down low. And he tells Sheridan, you know, I need you to provide a billet, room and board for 20,000 soldiers. And him and Ivanova are like, there's no way, there's too many soldiers. And they're like, you're gonna do it. And really, it was necessary because the alternative would have been to have all of those 20,000 Marines on troop transports. Not all of those Marines were residing on Nova class dreadnoughts. I believe they were actually on troop transports. I gotta double check the sizing, but I'm somewhat certain that they were not storing the troop transports in the shuttle bay or the, you know, Star Fury bay on the, you know, front of this thingamajig here. And so you got a bunch of guys cramped up in troop transports. It's not gonna work. So yeah, you're better off just putting them on a station with artificial gravity and recreational facilities, and you know, let them hang out for like a week until they go to their mission. And that episode was cool. It ended on a very sad note, but good episode. Now, you know, see, I told you, look, it looks like crap. I mean, holy crap. That thing just looks awful. Oh, and I find it weird that it's successfully able to do like what appears to be 3 lines at a time come out fine, and then 1 odd line or 2 odd lines in between those 3 lines comes out messed up. So this would almost make me think there's something wrong with the filament. Excuse me. It is also possible that when I was performing my manual adjustments that I pushed the bed too close. Maybe I should have left it alone, but you know, I'm very new to using this particular filament, and so maybe I should just like not rush to conclusions when using it. Or maybe I should put some black filament in here, test the printout with black filament, and then reload the filament when you know, when I'm confident that everything is aligned correctly. So now I think we're gonna move on to another segment, but before I do, let's see, is anybody in the chat? 1 concurrent viewer, 2 viewers, and I believe we still have 1 viewer in here, but I'm actually not sure how to read these YouTube statistics here. Chat rate 0, so I mean that's okay. But I just want to understand. Average view duration 11 minutes. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think I still got 1 viewer here. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. So, yeah, I think we're just gonna let this machine do its job. And another thing I wanted to do was check if anybody else has anything scheduled tonight, because I try not to interfere with other people's content. I mean, like, I think everyone's pretty cool. Nobody really cares, you know, whoever puts out the best content or whoever's putting out content that people like, they'll tune in to whatever they like. You know, it's not like, you know, anybody is evil for broadcasting at the same time. But, you know, I try to, you know, strike a balance. I like to say that. It's good to strike a balance. And I do, Brandon Looney Tunes Fan 2000 has a stream at 8 o'clock p.m. Ryan Raja Afte did a video about Brandon today. That was really cool. Or about Brandon's channel. He did a Rising Star segment, which is cool. I mean, look, dude's got 500 subscribers. Like, how many does, not knocking anybody, I got 65, but how many does Pacific have? Let's see, Pacific 414 has 184 subscribers. We need to find a way to, well, no, it's not, I was going to say we need to leverage Brandon's subscribers in order to gain ourselves subscribers, but I don't want to do that. But, I mean, we gotta learn what he's doing. He's doing something right. Okay, so Pacific 414, I don't know, maybe we don't want more subscribers. It's nice to have a tight-knit crowd, especially the way you do your pop talk. You know, you have like a free-for-all, you get a handful of people to join. I'm very seriously thinking about participating in Sunday pop talk, you know, because it's like weird for me. I work on Sunday, so for the time that pop talk is running, I can enjoy it, and I sometimes get solitude, which is really cool too. Although I do share, you know, I do work with one other guy on Sunday. Things can be pretty quiet on a Sunday because, you know, we're like I'm part of a little 24/7 operation. But when things are slow and quiet, I could hypothetically, yeah, I could totally just use my Bluetooth headphones and jump into pop talk. I got these really cool bone conduction headphones that, you know, just have good all-around sound on both ends. And beyond that, my new microphone, the one I have downstairs, that microphone has whatchamacallit, a USB Type-C port on it. And so theoretically, I can take that USB Type-C port, which I think I have the cable right here somewhere. Yeah, pretty sure I have a USB Type-C cable laying around here somewhere. Well, either way, I could use that USB Type-C cable. Oh, hell yeah! To plug that microphone into my phone if I really wanted to get obsessive about, you know, having a quality microphone. Because basically what I do is I have a very directional microphone downstairs, because I have a rack mounted server in that room, which makes a lot of noise. This thing screams. It's got like 8 fans inside of it, and they're constantly, I think they call it tornado fans. Like, they're powerful freaking fans. It's got like 12 hard drives installed right now. Do I have 12 or 10? Well, I have 10, but 2 more as hot, you know, basically, anyway, removable media. But yeah, dude, I am so available for the collector stream on Saturday, May 14th, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I don't give a shit if I have work at 5 a.m. I got work at 7 a.m. on Sunday. It's not like I have to stay up till midnight. And realistically, I have a hard time sleeping on Saturday night anyway. So it's like, if anything, what I'll do is I'll make my lunch for Sunday morning and take care of every, you know, all of the little things that you normally have to do before, you know, you go to bed on a work night. I'll take care of all of that stuff before 8 p.m. And then, yeah, I'll totally be down for that because, dude, I want to participate, okay? Like, I'll give you a little bit of a sneak preview of what I have in store. And, in fact, I better get off my ass and start making preparations. I got, like, what, about like a week to get ready. I got part of my Sovereign class Starship Enterprise here. Let's see, we're gonna just go into my desk and see if I can find the warp nacelles. Yo, can you believe this fat bastard? This fat bastard, I was like, you know, we did a low-key Star Wars streaming the other day, and he allowed everybody to join and participate, which was really cool, to talk about why they love Star Wars. And, you know, I just basically said, you know, look, I like Star Trek more, or I used to like Star Trek more, but I like the video games. Huh, what the hell is this? Oh, this is cool, okay. So then, this fat bastard in the chat goes and says that I'm a basic nerd in capital letters. So I thought, well, maybe he's talking about BASIC, the computer programming language. But nah, I'm pretty sure the guy was just being a dick. But anyway, he got sanctioned. You know, they the moderators were somewhat quick to basically just kind of like, you know, filter that out. But it's like, geez, man, what did I do to that guy? You know, I mean, like, this is interesting, though. So while prepping for that stream, I was like, for some reason, I wanted to do it downstairs or something. And on top of that, it doesn't really matter what room I do it in or which microphone I use. Although I find that I've had good functionality on this microphone. I have it tuned properly and, you know, I know how to, you know, use it, etc. But when I was downstairs... might be a little loud too. I might have to lower this a little bit. When I was downstairs, yeah, let me see here. So anyway, so the way I have my microphone configured, and I'm just checking my settings in OBS right now. Okay, so it depends on how loud I talk. So I have my audio going into OBS. Then I utilize OBS plugins or filters, and I can show you some of my filters right here. So basically I have my noise, background noise removal filter, and there's probably better ways to do what this does, but I mean, it works. I'm used to it. I'm using a different method on my other computer. On my other computer I'm using compressor and some other plugin. I forgot the name of the other. Compressor and expander. And apparently, if you combine compressor and compressor and extender at the same time, you get the same effect as what I get out of this plugin, which is basically to filter out the background noise coming from my desktop computer that has a noisy fan. But yeah, I was a little tight because that guy, I mean, I tried to play it cool, but I realized that you don't have to play it cool. You don't have to pretend to take insults as a compliment. I could have just as well said that wasn't very nice, and frankly, that would have been more honest to say. But, you know, try to stay positive. And, yeah, like, you know, you're always gonna get dicks on the internet. But what I find fucked up is that guy, I actually commented on one of his videos once. He was talking about, like, you know, some depressing shit, and I was, like, being positive for fuck's sake, you know? And I don't care if I leave a comment on your video and you don't respond. But it's like, I actually left a nice comment on that guy's video like 2 months ago. I didn't even know it was the same guy at the time, but I looked it up real quick. I left a nice comment on that guy's video, and he was a dick. At least like months later, probably didn't realize I left a nice comment on his video, or maybe he didn't appreciate it. I don't know, I get it. Patronizing maybe, who knows. But I digress. The moderators are great on Loki Stream. And they're also very cool people too. I get along with all of them. You know, Mark the Infinitely Tired. I mean, I find it amazing that man can get up for the stream in the morning. I mean, he's infinitely tired, and yet he shows up, and I don't think he's in New York. New York, we got like, you know, 9 a.m. I tune in at 9 a.m. But you people, I don't know about you, but people who are in the, you know, Midwest, people on the West Coast, they're tuning in at like 8 a.m. Even earlier if you live in California. Yeah, I mean, like, that's difficult. Like, my routine is like to tune into Loki's Mornings of Mischief. But yeah, so I can't find a warp engine. Hang on. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. Let me find this warp nacelle. Yo, but I got a couple of Discmans. I got like 2 Discmans that play MP3s. I got film, Kodak 400 versatile film, Kodak Max. I think we're not talking about other collectibles, but I do have some other types of collectibles. You know, I have a Nintendo Zapper gun in my lap. I have a Nintendo... No, that's not an AC adapter for the Nintendo. But I have an info... Oh, good, I've been looking for this. I need to bring this downstairs. This is one of those Sony Handycam batteries that is designed to give you like 20 hours. Alright, oh good, I've been looking for my Mylar. I'm finding things I've been looking for here. I got like multiple... I got like 2 or 3 copies of this game here. Real quick, so let's do some copy posture here. Alright, so we're gonna go to full up camera mode. Whoops. Alright, how do I do this? Alright, so we do full up cam, then I paste it in. Then we do resize. Yo, and like I gotta do like some OBS tutorial videos soon. Like I actually have to test out some features. So OBS has these profile settings, so you have different profiles for different stuff you're doing in OBS. And like the idea is when I'm doing an astronomy stream versus a stream where I'm playing video games, or even like what I'm doing right now where maybe I'm talking about stuff but I want to also, you know, do something involving my 3D printer, I would have, you know, basically different profiles for all of these, you know, these little routines. There we go. I love this technology. I love how, like, you know, when we were kids, we'd watch the news and it'd be like, you know, remember you'd watch the news in the 90s and there would be like a little box in the corner, and so if they were talking about Star Trek, you'd have a picture of something Star Trek related and the, you know, news anchor would be talking. And now we can do that today, and we can do it dynamically. We can just, I could put a funny face up. But I digress. I don't know where to put this, but I'll put it here for now. But yes, okay, so let me tell you about my routine for Loki's morning show. I just wanted to put that up so we can monitor the progress. So Loki's morning show goes something like, I got work like 7 to 7:30 on Sundays and Mondays, 7 to 8 o'clock on Tuesday. And then, barring any overtime, which thank God there's been an overtime freeze, which, yeah, that's probably not a good thing, budgetary, you know, for budgetary reasons, but I don't like being called to do overtime in the last minute because I always show up for every one of my shifts. I rarely call out. In fact, I've only called out once, and that was because I had the coof. And then I always take time off when it's legitimately taken off, and even then, I probably should take more time off than I do. But, you know, like, I never call out last minute, and nobody ever, almost ever has to do overtime for my sake. And anyway, enough complaining about that. My point is that I like my days off. I like having my consistent days off. And ever since the overtime freeze, I now don't get asked last minute to work on my day off. And look, you tell me 2 weeks in advance, it's a little easier to say yes. But asking me if I could work overtime, like, the day before the shift, that shit pisses me off. Like, I've had times where, like, it's Tuesday, which is like my Friday. I just did 3 12-hour shifts, and at the tail end of the shift, I'm being asked if I could work the following day. That shit makes me tight. But my point is that, so of course, on Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm up at 9 a.m. to tune into Loki's show, but what tends to happen is, like, I'll open up Loki's show on my phone, and I'll listen on my headphones. And I'll use the keyboard on my desktop computer at work to participate in the chat. Sometimes I'll use a Bluetooth keyboard on my phone. It depends. Excuse me. But, like, past couple weeks, every time I'm tuning into Loki's show at work, like, I'll be typing on the chat and I'll see the upper manager. Like, there's this top manager lady who, like, you gotta be on your P's and Q's. You gotta be on your toes when she shows up. And yeah, so I gotta get out of the chat. I gotta close it out because I don't want to be seen jerking around while on the clock. And look, I mean, like, you could say that I shouldn't be jerking around at work, but in practice, the minute something happens when it's crunch time, I drop whatever I'm doing, and, you know, my job takes precedence. That is always the priority. And same thing when I worked in retail. You know, you're fixing computers. Maybe you're joking around with your friends a little bit, but when a customer shows up, they get priority. So anyway, so that's Monday and Tuesday. And so sometimes that's the reason why I'm not consistent about tuning into Loki shows on Mondays and Tuesday. It's because sometimes I need to, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want the upper manager lady to show up, or because I have real work to do, or some combination in between. I have a friendly coworker, but he talks a lot, and sometimes that ties me up. And some days I tell him, hey man, I'm listening to this morning show, and he's pretty cool actually, like where like, he'll leave me alone for that hour, so that's cool. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I tune in religiously, but some days it depends. So like if I get a good night's sleep on Tuesday night, which is my Friday, then I wake up pretty smoothly 8:45, and we tune into Loki's Mornings of Mischief here. And then as my weekend goes on, I basically have a 4-day weekend, 3 days where I don't have work the following day, or three nights where I don't have work the following day. And as you get towards the tail end of the week, as I get towards the tail end of my week, I wake up later and later, or I have, I go to bed later and later. And so I still set my alarm. Like my watch will ring. In fact, I gotta disable the alarm for tomorrow morning, or else my watch will wake me up at 8:50 a.m. tomorrow. And oh shit, I just remembered something. And I'm still running a video recorder on my computer downstairs, I think. How do I do this? Oh wait, I remember. So, like, I sometimes take a nap. I'll watch the show, and then I'll go back to bed because, I'm still tired. Sometimes I'll get out of bed. Sometimes I'll get out of bed, then take a nap. Other times, I'll literally, like participate in the chat from my phone. Lately, I've been getting into a bad habit of chatting on my phone and then going right back to sleep after the show. But trying to strike a good balance here, and sometimes it's good to get up at 9 a.m. and it's probably a healthy habit, but I've been trying to merge my old night owl habits again with my my current routine. Back when we were under COVID lockdown, or not really lockdown, but when I was teleworking, it was very easy to tune into Loki's morning show. I would basically just, it was awesome, dude. I mean, on one angle I felt like a piece of shit not working very hard when I was teleworking, but it was awesome. I'd wake up at 7 a.m. I'd wake up at about 10 minutes to 7. I'd go downstairs to the kitchen, turn on the coffee maker or the Keurig, pull out my laptop, sign into work, and as I'm logging into work, I would be drinking my coffee, beginning my breakfast. Then 2 hours later, 9 a.m., Loki's Mornings of Mischief would start. And that was my every day that I had work on Monday and Tuesdays, I was working from home and able to give basically 98% of my attention to enjoying that show and participating in the chat. And then when we went back to the office, my routine got a little disrupted, but you gotta prioritize work to some extent. And so, still working on striking that balance. So yeah, I don't know where these warp naysayers are. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to figure something out, yeah. But let's see, I might have another video from my 3D printer. Let's see here. See, we'll go to the network storage. And hopefully I don't have anything sketchy on here. Yeah, so this is of the TIE bomber that I was printing for May the 4th. Here, we'll go back to my big display. So yeah, this is a TIE bomber I was printing for May the 4th. And you can tell, I mean, it's a TIE bomber. I mean, it's got the little circular... Oh, wait, in fact, I got it right here. So, it's missing a part. And I might have accidentally swapped a component out with a busted part. So I may still have a better part downstairs. So I glued it very lightly so that I could replace any component that I have a better copy of. Because there's a big gap on this side here. Yeah, there's literally a gap here, but it's a TIE bomber. I mean, that's totally a TIE bomber. I gotta say, this autofocus doesn't really work great in here. But, yeah, that's the tie bomber. And I'm missing one component on the bottom, but when I go back downstairs to my printer, I'll check my desk to see if there's a better part for the front end of this, because this was printed in 2 parts, or 4 parts, 3 parts, yeah. But yeah, so there we go. But oh, this is so cool. Does this count as collector streams content here? I got some Gulf War trading cards. Maybe I'll scan some of these in with my scanner so that I can, you know, show them off on the scanner bed or something instead, or, you know, in image formats. But these, yeah, it looks like they've taken on a little moisture over the years because, you know, the way they were cut from the card cutting machine, they got a little curvature, and scanning them shouldn't be too hard because you can flatten them out pretty easily on a scanner bed. But I don't know if it's safe to try to flatten them out in mass. In fact, I think what happened was the front of these cards is printed in a glossy ink, but the back is basically, you know, matte finished cardboard style, cardstock paper. So that unevenness must have caused it to contract on one side, sort of like a bimetallic strip. But yeah, we got General Colin Powell right here. I got General Richard Graves, whoever he is. This guy looks old as F. Admiral Frank Kelso. Since 1990. Naval operations since 1990. Instrumental in directing naval operations. Oh shit, it's Brandon's show. Yo, tune into Brandon Looney Tunes Fan 2000. I'm about to do it right now. Shit, man, I got a pile of shit on my lap. I promised myself I would tune into Brandon's Looney Tunes Fan 2000. I would rather do it on my keyboard, but my hands are tied right now. Alright, let's see here. Did he, maybe he already, I know he did I know he put up a video before, but he said he was doing a premiere tonight, you know. Oh yeah, and I got like a variety of cool things, at least things I would consider cool. Oh yeah, now his premiere is tomorrow night. Okay, good, we're not missing Brandon's show. You know, I wish I can give him pointers, but it's like, he's got 500 subscribers, and anything I would do differently would probably get him a copyright claim, because like, I mean, like, I did one stream where I did a reaction stream to Star Wars The Mandalorian, like basically sort of like when you have that stereotype on Family Guy where people in a movie theater who, you know, make noise, you know, like when, like, in fact, I've been accused of this multiple times where I go to a movie with a friend, or I'm watching a movie and I crack jokes during the movie. I'm subtle, I don't get loud, but it's similar to people who get loud who comment during a movie. And so I did this with Mandalorian. I basically watched Mandalorian and I just kind of made jokes about whatever I was seeing as it was unfolding. And within about 30 minutes of a 45-minute stream, the thing got copyright claimed or whatever. And honestly, I was in the wrong. You know, I knew what I was doing wrong. But yeah, you know, I got like a medium collection of random things. I got like some Star Wars stuff that my brother left when he moved out. Underneath my old turtle tank. The turtle tank is empty now, but at one time the turtle tank was full of water, which weighed something like 400 pounds. But now I could probably access it. I was thinking about using that tank to grow plants, like to grow vegetables, in case the economy turns to crap and we get hyperinflation and the fucking fertilizer shortage becomes a real issue. But let's see here. I got random electronics. Oh, does that count? No, see, I think we're going too far here. But I got like old computer hardware. Maybe I'll show some pictures of it on the quick. But I'm gonna prioritize collectibles, toys, things like that. But I got like 1 or 2 things maybe I would show from the computer collection that I believe to be worthy. Maybe the Atari 2600, or something like that. Really, if I could hook up the Atari 2600 and make it run, that would be cool. You know, try to give it my own little spin, you know, try to, you know, do something to differentiate my my crap from other people's crap. But yeah, this one here is an old Palm Pilot Palm Tungsten, and I believe the Palm Tungsten was actually one of the first Palm Pilots, you know, handheld devices that had Bluetooth on it. I remember reading the advertisement for it, and they were saying that with Bluetooth, you could network 4 devices during a meeting, and you could draw notes and share them at the same time. And of course, you know, like that was not really something people took to. Of course, Bluetooth is way more useful for, like, you know, what we use it for today. External peripherals, keyboards, mice. Here we are. This is the Enterprise NX-01. So first I was trying to print out the Russian space shuttle yesterday, and it was coming out pretty good actually. Like, this had no issues whatsoever. And yeah, I can't find that warp nacelle. See, like, pretty smooth, black, smooth edges. Where's my mouse pointer? I lost my mouse. Oh, here it is. Here it is. And then if you skip ahead, see, nice and smooth, like buttery smooth. This is what it's supposed to look like. Then I skip ahead again, and that now you got like what we call the infill pattern. So this is basically to help add some structure and support from the inside. And the pattern I'm using actually makes the walls stronger. But what sometimes you can do is you can make a 3D print hollow and give it thicker walls to compensate, and that will help to speed up your printing time and save you on filament. So depends on what I'm printing, but I like to, you know, print things that are strong sometimes. And then when you get to the top layer, it starts looking like this, but this is actually intended. Like, this is how the software generates the surfaces. And then it got up to this next part, and there we go. So you're starting to see like the shape of the Russian space shuttle. In fact, I think it was this, yeah, same model as what we're looking at here. This is literally like a reprint of what I'm holding in my hand, and you can start to see the shape of the wings. So, you know, I don't think this counts as collectibles, but it's still cool. Well, it has potential of being cool. Oh wow, I didn't know I had an external hard drive in here. I gotta see what's on here. This Discman, one of these Sony Discmans came with an external battery enclosure to give it more power. Okay, good. I'm not good, but I'm gonna put this crap back in the desk now that I've confirmed that my warp nacelles. I think I know where the warp nacelles are, but they're definitely not in here. Or, oh wait, maybe they're in the upper drawer. Let's see here. Let's put this stuff back. And I also have more cards. I think I have like, those are the Gulf War cards, and I have, I think, Operation Desert Storm, or I want to say, I wish I had the Illuminati card game, because I mean those cards are always interesting. They have some, like, you know, weird stuff. I mean, you know, some would put it under the category of predictive programming. Yeah, so this Discman here doesn't actually seem to have a battery compartment on it. So I don't know what the hell is going on with this one here, but you would plug in an external battery thingamajig. I don't know, let's just check this out real quick. Oh, I see, it's got a, I think the mechanism for opening it snapped off. Okay, and we got a CDR inside of here. Oh, yeah, okay, this was actually an interesting design. Ah, crap, I got corroded nickel metal hydride batteries in here. So you put your AAA batteries inside the disc compartment. So, I'm a bit of a pack rat hoarder. But yeah, this is kind of cool, you know. So they use AAA batteries inside the disc compartment to make this into a very small unit. And then they give you the option to plug in external batteries. Now what would make it even cooler is if you can use the external power supply to charge the internal batteries. That would be really cool. I remember years ago people would have the anti-skip protection on these, and it would eat battery power like no tomorrow, and so some people would prefer to operate it without anti-skip protection, or whatever they call it. But, you know, I'd say if you have enough rechargeable batteries, it's inconsequential. Alright, let's see what we have here. And I gotta find my pod racer game. I found Smash Brothers. But yeah, I appreciate it, and I look forward to participating in that stream. This one, I wish I had a Pocket PC that worked. This is a radio card. You hook up an antenna, or no, this here is an AM radio or FM radio for a handheld personal digital assistant pocket computer. Late 90s, early 2000s. Oh, good. I need to test this out. I found a 6 terabyte drive. I need to bring this downstairs. So what I do is I have like a series of 8 terabyte drives installed in one of my computers, and what it does is it allows me to combine the storage. But what I did was I used to have a bunch of 6 terabyte drives that I replaced a while ago, but now what I'm starting to do is use the 6 terabyte drives as like removable storage media. So I'll reserve 1 or 2 empty hot swap bays on my server. I'll put the drive in there. I'll copy or synchronize data onto them, and I'll put these out, take them out, and I can put them on a shelf. Long term, I want to put them in a box that is EMP shielded. But the general idea is that I'm reusing these drives to do something similar, more like cold storage, because the server is constantly maintaining backups, duplicates of all of the data on it. But if that server got hit by lightning in one big stroke, highly improbable, but if it did, the data could still be compromised. So having a separate cold storage backup would be a way to prevent that. Yeah, you know, I mean, like, people got Star Trek toys. Some people just talk about what they got. Some people talk about a couple of things, or about their overall collection, and then we'll show 1 or 2 things. So I think it worked out pretty well. What the hell? Oh, cool, a UV flashlight. What does that look like on camera? Huh. Just curious. Ow. Might make me blind. Let's see here. Found some 4 terabyte hard drives inside of this drawer. This here is the modified Duck Hunt game. So this one here is patched. Basically, it's an updated version of the game that is supposed to work on modern TVs, but you also need to buy a different zapper gun, and I don't want to do that because the original zapper gun makes a cool sound when you're using it. Ah, man, I buried it, but you know, the original Nintendo zapper gun, when you pull that trigger, it makes that pa-ding, pa-ding, makes that nice pinging sound. And so my plan is to... Oh, that's cool. I really should make a list so that I could prepare for that stream, because I just found like a couple of the Star Wars books in my drawer that, you know, like the Essential Guides to Technology and Vehicles, Essential Guide to Weapons and Technology, you know, so you got things like that. I have a book somewhere with the ships from Deep Space Nine, so I definitely would want to include those. So I really should make a little list so that I can keep track of what I need to round up and where it is. this is something that Baron Orman tag totally has. Like, I remember he was doing a stream and he pulled out another book related to Star Trek, and I was like reminded that this was inside my desk, and I pull it out just to like, you know, like review it, and then like a minute later Baron pulls out this book too, and it's got like a folded up page on here somewhere where it's got a picture of Scotty holding a bottle of scotch, and it says Scotty gives his all for his ship. There we go. Whoops. And if that picture never made it into the show, because I guess they said it is not very family friendly. Now this poster here, I already recorded a video where I pulled out this poster, and I probably shouldn't unfold it in its entirety because it's pretty fragile, but it's basically about Spock and the planet Vulcan, and on the inside is a fold out poster of Spock holding his guitar. So this thing here folds out like to be like that big, and I was thinking of like looking for a high resolution version of this online first, and if I can't find it, then I would have to painstakingly scan this or digitize it somehow. Then once digitized, I could reprint it and hang it up on my wall or whatever I want to do, make it into computer wallpaper. But this is the kind of poster that if you were to hang it up, you might try to carefully frame it or something, but I'd say making a duplicate would be a safer bet. And if you make a duplicate, you could basically just buy the printer ink and print it on, you know, basic paper. You don't necessarily need to use fancy paper if you're making your own banner print. You know, if there's ways to do these things. That used to be way more popular when desktop printing, you know, went into vogue. So let's see here. I gotta put something away. What time is it? 8:17. I should check my messages and then see what else there is to do here. See, originally I was gonna do a stream. I'll give a little preview here, where I was going to talk about the pitfalls of 3D printing, because the other day I showed a ship, and you know, Captain Paul, Master Paul, Captain Paul was saying, you know, he would like one day like to get a 3D printer, and so I would say I want to share with people the negative aspects of owning a 3D printer and why I was reluctant to buy one, and why I would not encourage anybody to get one without being prepared to know what to expect or to buy a different printer. And so I started drafting this, but it was just kind of boring to mess around in PowerPoint, so I said screw it, I'll do this later. But essentially I have a filament printer, fused deposition modeling, which uses filament. Then the other type is called a SLS printer, and it uses resin, just like fiberglass resin. It uses like a UV curing process to, like, you know, use UV lasers to make the resin harden, and it does it one layer at a time. Resin printers make very fine figurines. You don't get these like vertical, horizontal lines, like those are horizontal lines from each layer of the print. You don't get that on a resin printer as far as I'm aware. But resin printers, because they use resin similar to fiberglass resin. Oh, what a mess my room is. Oh shit, I wasn't supposed to show that. Because resin printers, oh, it's not my room, but anyway, basement area. Anyway, so resin printers, they make fumes. They smell, but it's not so much the smell that's bad, it's the fumes that are bad, you know? And so you might just put it by an open window and call it a day if it's not raining, but sometimes you need to put a dryer vent on top of the printer to reroute the fumes out of the room. I have my 3D printer inside a tent, which I was just showing in that video a minute ago, I think, which I'm afraid to show it again. I should really, like, not. Let me see. I'm gonna pause it. Whoops. Okay, good. Oh, come on. Okay, that'll do. You know what? Good. We'll just show this awkward angle here. So yeah, that's a tent my 3D printer resides in. The lights on the bottom right are my turtle tank. But anyway, they have enclosures for the other types of 3D printers that will deal with the fumes. Even this has a vent on the top and a vent on the side, mainly just to give you some cross ventilation. The problem is that even if somebody sells you an enclosure with HEPA filters on it, there's no guarantee that it's going to keep working, and really it's almost a lie if they tell you that it filters out the fumes. Now, it's not just the resin printers that make fumes, but with this printer I'm using PLA. PLA filament does not make fumes, but there are other types of filament. So for example, this filament material was PETG, similar to the PET plastic you find in soda bottles. However, you also have ABS plastic, which I have some ABS panels over there, and that's basically that plastic that you usually get in black. They might use it for custom car stereo installations. You can heat it up and bend it into different shapes. ABS plastic, when you use that in a 3D printer, it does make very bad fumes, or even if it didn't smell bad, it's bad for you. And so that's a scenario where you know, if I was going to use, that's one of the reasons I bought this tent, wasn't just to keep it warm, but it was also so that if I had to run a dryer vent tube from the top to suck out the air and push it out the window, I could do that, you know. And if I had a SLS printer that, you know, made resin fumes, you might go and do the same thing, hook up a vent to redirect some of those fumes when it's being, you know, put in use. Some people would argue you don't need it. I got to do a little more research on it, but that's why I didn't buy an SLS printer. I wanted an SLS printer. I wanted the resin technology. I thought it would be a lot less frustrating, because with this type of printer, I could print out larger objects, and I get a bit more flexibility with the materials I can use. But, like, you gotta level the bed, and I hate leveling the bed. I knew before I bought it, I knew I was gonna hate leveling the bed. Now, good news was I got pretty good at it. I installed some extra components that make it, you know, more reliable, and periodically when I do maintenance, I've been getting a better feel for everything. But you know, for a while, that was the big obstacle. I was like, I'm not buying a 3D printer. I don't want to level that piece of shit. But yeah, so materials. So I recommend an SLS printer, if not for the fumes. But this type of printer, you get frustrated with the leveling, and sometimes people just won't use it for months on end until they're in the mood to, you know, mess around with it again. So let's see here. Now I want to check something out here. Beautiful rainy day. I gotta check the weather, check my messages, see if I want to order dinner, because yesterday, man, that dinner messed up my stomach. I don't want to eat leftovers today. Well, maybe I could find something to make. It's good to be frugal. Let's see here. But yeah, I was thinking about playing some Nintendo or something like that. Maybe play Nintendo before I order dinner, or as I'm ordering dinner, you know. But, like, I got a little editing a video to do. You know, I've been, you know, streams are so cool because it's like you don't have to edit video. You just do the stream. You go and you go for it. You know, ideally you have a little bit of a plan. I like what you do, Pacific, where, you know, you have people join up. I was actually looking at StreamYard today, thinking about experimenting with a similar format, whether I would invite people on for a formal purpose or just say, join if you want, you know, anybody join, you know. I'm not sure if you know, maybe I'd do it both ways at any given time. But, you know, like, same thing, Zanzotan, he does that, you know. Sometimes he'll fire up a stream and just let people jump in at random, and they just have it's almost like a radio show, but conversational. But yeah, 9 p.m. Let's see here. Man, that weather is ugly. So sometimes I visit my friend's house around, you know, 9:30, 10 o'clock p.m. or 9:30 p.m. on days like this. But, you know, it's raining outside. And, I mean, this is not to say I wouldn't do it, because I've done it before. I spent like 4.5 years riding my bike to Best Buy when I worked there. In the rain. I had like I have a full-blown rain suit. So that's the thing, though, is I'd have to find my rain pants before going, you know, because like I got the raincoat, I got 2 rain jackets, but if I can't find my rain pants, I ain't riding my bike into the rain. So yeah, that would be the deal breaker right there. So now what am I looking for here is, yeah. But yeah, I think I just play some Nintendo. Get the app fired up so I can order something to eat. Really though, these apps are the death of me. I mean, like, I should just call the place and order dinner. Maybe I should check the fridge. Let me see here. I gotta check a couple of things real quick. I'll be right back. I don't recommend it. I really should just finish my Orville. I mean, it's in pretty good shape. I sanded it down. The only reason I didn't resume was I got some grit in my trackball mouse, and it took me, like, I kept having to clean it out periodically until the grit, stopped making grinding sounds. But at this point, I mean, it's pretty much good to go. Mostly sanded. Let's see here. See, there's like, I wish I had like a plastic cloth on my desk right now. Because that would work so well. I have a secondary camera up here. But yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, I want to get some rough marks. I'm going to move this downstairs. So that next time I'm in the mood, maybe even later on, I'll use my airbrush to, do some quick painting on it to get a surface finish. In fact, before I use the airbrush, I need to use the primer. So I can actually do that. I can prime it. And then after I prime it, and it dries, which doesn't take long, then I can paint it. So I don't have to rush to painting it, but I should put an even coat of primer because the primer is the same color as the Orville, so it'll give us a pretty strong idea of what this is going to look like. And like I said, there's these like ridge lines on a 3D printed object, but my solution is to simply sand them a little bit, not a lot. I'm not gonna bust my ass sanding it. I used to do that. I used to go and bust my ass sanding 3D printed objects and polishing them until they looked smooth, but I found a few issues with doing that method. The best method is really just to lightly sand it and then prime it. Like, some people, they want to avoid painting it. They want to prove that you can do everything on a 3D printer. That you can basically, like, especially some 3D printers similar to mine are upgraded to have multiple types of filament on them. Let's check, by the way, let's check the status of my 3D printer right now. Oh yeah, it's starting to look nicer. Like, I mean, I might leave it alone, but I'm still not proud of the first layer of that print at all. Like, schnitzel. Sorry, pardon my language. I didn't even curse. I just refrained from using profanity, and I'm saying sorry for my language. But yeah, I want to pull up the print status to show off how that is coming along right now. Okay, full screen. Yeah. Alright, and then we do MSI display, and I'm in the corner. But you can see it's coming along pretty nice right there. Now, that's weird. There's some like dark spots on there. I guess there was a clog, and maybe there was some excess material that got dragged onto the printer bed. So, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. But yeah, Pacific, let me know if you got any streams tonight. So, if I do another stream later, or if I stop streaming in 20 minutes, and I decide to stream again later, I don't want to, overlap, but also I'll tune in. And also, feel free to shout yourself out. I guess I could do that. I mean, I'm not lazy. I guess I should post links in the chat myself. But, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely all about sharing the wealth. Usually I just tell people if somebody's got their own channel, I say, yo, tune into this guy's channel. But I should really get in the habit of storing links. I think I'm going to do that. Today, I'm going to make it a point of going to channels like yours, and I'll go to Nerd Poor Real Life Form, Brian's channel. I'll go to whoever, first I'll go to the channels of people who actually tune into me, but I don't mind promoting other people, but I guess I would just want to have the links on hand. So Whooper Trooper, Punk Waddle, of course, although I think mostly he participates on Floro Under a Rock. But, pretty much anytime someone jumps to my channel, I could just say, oh yeah, go to this guy's channel, copy and paste their channel name. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a point of doing that. So that whenever I do any stream in the future, I'll just call up the link and put it there right away, or at different stages during a stream. But yeah, so the part of this thing I'm sanding right now doesn't even need that much sanding. I'm just kind of roughing it up a little more to help the paint adhere better, and actually there are minor imperfections, so I'm addressing that. But most of the area that's really challenging is in this little nook right here. This little corner. And there's like a corner here too, and actually we could do that. Oh yeah, that's nice. I'm basically just shoving this through a gap, and I'm getting it at an angle, and it's kind of like helping a lot. Like, I just got rid of a bunch of junk material there. And I'm killing two birds with one stone. Not terrible. Not terrible at all. I'm trying to... Yeah, I said I was going to get up like 2 minutes ago, and now I'm like... I'm hell-bent on getting this sanded up a little more before I bring it downstairs. And what's interesting is I have like a layer of like enamel paint on it already, and I may not... I'm not necessarily going to strip away all of the paint. I'm just going to rough it up a little bit, like I'm doing now, and that's going to help so that when I put the next layer of primer on it, the primer will help the next layer of paint stick to it, the roughed up texture will help the primer stick to it, and maybe between the two things it'll help to fill any gaps even more than they're already filled. So I have a little method to my madness, and yeah, it looks like some of this is working out pretty decently right now. Like, but yeah, Baron Orman Tag had a stream yesterday. I tuned in a little late. I might even rewind it later to check it out. But like, yeah, I gotta set my calendar. I think he said he's gonna do one stream at the end of the month, but I think yesterday was the beginning of the month, so maybe, I don't know, he's working on different schedules. But the guy's got his knowledge, when it comes to sci-fi. But yeah, so what I discovered was I can do audio filters in OBS, no problem. But if you use Streamlabs, so there's a feature called OBS Virtual Webcam, where you can use the video signal from OBS as a virtual webcam. So when I do what I'm doing right now, I could do this inside a Streamlabs panel, and without actually using screen sharing on Streamlabs, I could pretty much do screen sharing within my own panel. And then if the person running the stream wants to fill up the screen with my video source, they could do that. But I have, control within my own panel. The issue I discovered was before Loki's Star Wars stream was that the audio filter settings in OBS do not show up in Streamlabs. So when you're using Streamlab and OBS Virtual Webcam, the audio still comes directly from your microphone, meaning that any audio filters that you used OBS to apply will not, show up or will not affect the audio. Not the end of the world, because I've done streams with Streamlabs where I thought I sounded fine, no big deal there, but mainly that it doesn't eliminate all of my background noise, although things work out pretty well. It's just that, I would like to have the ability to use all of the audio filters, so I gotta do a little research on that. And so I might not cancel that print. I was originally going to cancel that print, but I may let it run just to see what it looks like after another hour or so, because this would be one of the tallest things I've ever printed on my 3D printer, and I'm just curious to see how well the Z-axis threaded rod works, because on this unit here, if you look in the back right corner of this image here, you can see this threaded rod. And so when the motor spins, that threaded rod drags that part of the X-axis gantry up. That, right there where my mouse is jumping. Underneath that threaded rod is a brass fitting that, is where the threaded rod actually engages. But see, what I added was a pair of brass fittings with a spring in between them. And that's part of a anti-backlash mechanism, because what would happen is with the original design, when the power for the motor disengaged, or when the motor is disengaged and unlocked, that gantry would sag. You could drag it up and down by hand if it was well lubricated enough, and because the left and right sides are separate, you would lose alignment on both ends. They're not really linked to each other. The motors are synchronized, but the left and right sides can be moved independently if the motors are not engaged. So things get a little weird over there. It's kind of one of the other annoying things, but I added a motor to the right side of the printer despite the fact it was separate, because I wasn't trusting the right side to stay in sync with the left side. The motor also makes it a little more precise when it's working correctly. It keeps things balanced out. There's little details like that. So I had some concerns. Maybe I could actually get the right side to work independently, but the fact that the upgrade is available kind of tells me that the original design is not fully adequate. So we upgrade it, and once in a while you learn little things about the design that you didn't know before. So I've noticed, for example, like there's little roller bearings that are engaged into the track. Those roller bearings, if you have the oblong nut, there's like a screw that's like oval shaped, you can over tighten something and ruin the roller bearings, or basically create indentations in the rubber wheel or whatever. It's like a soft plastic. So there's different ways to cope with that. Or, ultimately buying replacement bearings is a good idea at this point, because I think that will help with some of my inconsistency issues with the bed leveling at this stage. I've had parts on this 3D printer that would wobble, and I'd be sitting there going, is this part supposed to wobble? And I try to Google it, and then I realize, nope, I had to tighten this or adjust this. Even now, there's like a silver screw protruding right here. And that's not a stock screw. That's something I added because something got stripped and I needed something different. And then this hole over here is really just the access port to adjust another screw. So I bought a set of screws that's compatible with this machine, so if I have to replace any screws I can. But I'm afraid to remove this screw because if I fuck this up, I have to buy an aluminum rod of this particular shape. And that's not so hard to do, but if you get your hands on the right aluminum rod of the right length, you have to drill it yourself. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't own a drill press. And I'm not doing that with a hand drill. And, you know, you got to really get that precision right. So, I would want to avoid that like the plague. But, like, I even put some like epoxy on there somewhere to help with the stability of that so it wouldn't flex. So I did a couple little modifications, if you will. Alright, good. So there's like a little extra nub on the edge of this ship here. Oh, we're almost done here. Come on. Gotta order dinner here. But I want to get any imperfections resolved. Alright, good. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to be closer to perfect than it was. I gotta post a video of my tortoise. Maybe I'll do some video editing later because I did a video of my tortoise pooping, but it's like it's a video on how to take care of a tortoise because there's certain things you gotta do to take care of a tortoise. And speaking of that, I gotta do some things tomorrow to make sure he eats his vegetables. You know what? I'm gonna have to put a little bit more of that modeling putty onto this model here because I'm seeing some parts on the tail end here that like are not rough, or they're rough, but you can't sand them away. They're almost more like gaps. And I put some modeling putty. Huh? I put some modeling putty on the tail section of this right here. That white stuff we're looking at here that's overly illuminated. But we put some white putty on it and I took some out to remove the excess. Yeah, a lot of helicopters flying on a rainy day. I didn't think helicopters flew a lot on rainy days. Maybe people fly helicopters if they don't want to get stuck in traffic. I looked into, when the traffic got really bad, I looked into renting a helicopter, and I mean, of course, it's too darn expensive. for someone on my income level, but it could theoretically be done for a somewhat affordable price. The other problem with renting a helicopter to go to work was that it wouldn't really eliminate my commute. It'd be more like if I had a building, if I worked in a building or if I was the CEO in a building in Manhattan, which I'm not, I could use a helicopter to go from, like, well, if there's a rooftop heliport, you could use it, but I think the way it usually works is that you gotta get in a car or a subway train and go to a heliport on Manhattan Island, such as near the water. And then from the coastline of Manhattan Island, you could take a helicopter somewhere in Brooklyn. But realistically, I would just be better off taking the train anyway, so it wouldn't eliminate my commute. Now, I live in Staten Island, which is the 5th borough of New York. So there is a heliport at the hospitals, but at the hospital nearby. But okay, so I could take a cab or drive or ride a bike to the hospital. But the helicopter's not gonna pick you up at the hospital. They're not gonna be like, yeah, sure thing, wait on the roof of the hospital and we'll send a helicopter to pick you up. You know, I don't think they allow that. I think it's a reserved heliport for, like, you know, emergencies. Like, person with an emergency heart operation or some shit, you know. A medevac. I don't know, whatever they use the heliports for. Which is another thing I thought about heliports at hospitals, like, do they cover that on the insurance? You know, it's gotta cost a lot, you know. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to put any more modeling putty on here, but I think I'm going to give this good rinse in a moment. And I wish I could rinse my hands off before touching my computer's mouse, because I don't want to get freaking grit between the trackball. So I'm going to use my palm to operate it. But just in case the audio is tuned out, I'm going to thank you and anyone else who tuned in. Thank you all for tuning in, including up to and including Pacific 414. Thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna not necessarily call it quits, but, you know, I'll take care of some business. With my luck, I'll go whether I make dinner or order dinner. If I order it, it might be too late. The place I want to order from might be closed, you know, so you know, I'm gonna figure this out. And then maybe I'll fire up. Ah, shit! Okay, so I just nearly dropped this on the floor, but I closed my legs on it. And when I closed my legs on it, I heard it make a cracking sound. So here's some. Oh god. Okay, we're good. We're good. I can glue this back on. That is an interesting place for it to break. Okay, so we're gonna put a little glue in there right now before the stream comes to an end. All right. Let's see here. And I gotta email England because I gotta get a piece of astronomical equipment repaired or get parts for the repair. Alright, so this is this modeling glue that the Japanese make. The Tamiya. Hey! Hidetakimasu. Hey! Okay, now jokes aside. Alright, I want to be careful. Oh, okay, come on, drip in there. Alright, there we go. I think we got it. So now I'm just gonna close this glue up so it doesn't dry, because it's very expensive stuff. But it comes in a nice applicator. And then we're gonna just put some pressure on here. And then I can always do a quick sanding on I gotta be careful, because one of the ways I got myself in trouble with this model, the reason I had to do so much extra work on it, was because when I glued it the first time, I did it in a rush and, you know, nothing lined up right. I think it's good this time, but I can't be sure. Either way, I'm just going to put a lot of force on it, make sure that, yeah, I think we're, nope, that's not good. I think we got it. I think it's aligned this time. So I'm just going to put some pressure on here. Okay. Yep, nearly cracked it. Just glued it back together. I'm afraid to let go of it now. I think this glue should be fine. Yeah, I think we're in good shape here. Alright, I'm going to put this down for now. Let the glue set. And we're going to check if anyone's streaming later on. But if not, I may do another stream tonight. Because I have some astrophotography that I captured like in the past couple of weeks, and I have some solar astronomy data that needs to be processed. So maybe we'll sit down, go, you know, before the stream I'll round it up. Before I stream I'll go to the folders on my computer, gather up the astrophotography data, put some together in the same place, queue it up, maybe open up a few separate files at once so I can show off some of the raw data, and have the applications ready that allow me to process that data. Because when you take astrophotography photographs, you start off with like a, you know, low quality image, and what you're essentially doing is you're taking multiple images of the same target and you're stacking them to get more contrast and all of this stuff. So the raw image usually looks grainy or looks a little screwed up. Sometimes you'll have a color photo in black and white, because you'll take the red, green, and blue colors separately. So, you know, go over that later. But, you know, might do that. Play it by ear. Alright, so thanks for tuning in and have a great evening.